have the highest, according to, I think it's NAR, the highest
Yep.
return on investment. So
Mhm.
do things like that while you're living in your house, and enjoy the things while you're living in your house. Don't wait until it's time to sell your house to replace the green carpeting that you've been meaning to get rid of.
My name is Kevin McIntosh, and this is The Closing Table, where we talk to experts about their experience in real estate all across the country. Let's go. Hello and welcome to The Closing Table. I am your host, Kevin C. McIntosh, and as usual, we do have a special guest on this episode sharing all of her knowledge. We want to welcome Kathy Novak. How you doing, Kathy?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me today.
Yeah. I put on my PA announcer voice for you, build up the hype and everything.
That was good.
Yeah. Well, thank you again for taking time out of your busy schedule to be with us today. We are here to talk about business in regards to real estate, but I like to start it off a little casual. Quick game. It's called This or That, if you want to call it a game. It's just an icebreaker, Kathy, where I have some words or phrases related to real estate. For the most part, they are contradicting each other, but you just choose one and you can tell us why you chose it if you want to. You ready?
I'm ready.
All right. First one, long-term rental or short-term rental?
No rental. Bye.
Plot twist. Love it. All right. Cash flow or appreciation?
Cash is king. Cash flow.
Okay. Traditional financing or creative financing?
Traditional financing. As a listing agent, I don't want to see creative financing.
That's interesting. Okay. Last one, buy and hold or fix and flip?
In this market, it's tough to say. I always would go with buy and hold.
Okay. Part of me expected that, but the fact that it was a little bit up in the air, that was a little intriguing. Okay. All right, Kathy. Well, thank you. Starting things off a little loosey-goosey on the show, getting a little comfortable on the show. So now I'd like you to take this time right now. Tell me and our audience about you in 60 seconds or less, or just take your time. Who is Kathy Novak outside of real estate?
That's really hard to separate because I've been doing this since 2004. And I think to succeed in this business, it has to be such a big part of your personality. You've got to wake up thinking about it and go into bed thinking about it. But I am a wife of almost 30 years and we have 4 kids. I'm a former tennis player and avid tennis watcher now, golf attempter, reader. I'm licensed in Ohio and Florida and North Carolina, so I stay pretty busy.
Okay. That is interesting. I like how you started off with basically just saying real estate is your life. Real estate is life, and I mean that goes into the saying that I've repeated a few times on the closing table. If you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life. It's part of your lifestyle. So that's who you are. So ultimately, that pretty much lets us know who you are right there, Kathy. Thank you for that response. While we're getting into it, I want you to take this time now to really just explain your current market right now for myself and our audience, especially for people who've never been there. Can you describe it geographically and then go into any economic details in regards to real estate there?
Sure. So this particular market is that my primary market is Aurora, Ohio, in the eastern suburbs of Cleveland. And specifically, peeling the onion down to Aurora, it's, the average home price is probably mid 300s, average square foot, 2,800. It's a mix of light industrial and local commercial retail, big small town. But the thing that does keep our property values very high here in my specific area, and a lot of the ones are around our good school systems. That's pretty much a hallmark of the local area here.
Okay. 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 And you also mentioned that you're licensed in a few other states, Florida, and you say North Carolina also.
Hmm.
What prompted that?
Well, I have friends who, we're in the age group now where our kids are, graduated from high school and
Hmm.
maybe moving on from college. So a lot of us are looking at second home options. My husband and I have one on the beach down in North Carolina. A lot of friends have places in Florida. Geographically and demographically, Florida made sense because so many people are moving there. North
Gotcha.
Carolina is a great option because it's not as crowded and not as expensive. So, the beach areas there are still affordable.
Oh, okay. Affordable.
Can you want to let me know if you want to go see one?
Yeah, see, look, you got my brain going now. Like
There you
affordable
go.
beach, okay,
Hmm.
okay, okay. So getting into the business part of it, when you're dealing with your clients, in order to know what they want other than money, you have to ask the right questions, right? So, what are some of these important pre-appointment questions that you typically review with your sellers to know exactly what they're trying to get out of the deal?
Well, Kevin, I think that, as a real estate agent, go way back to real estate 101, and most of us were taught about Ford. um, you know, you're looking like you may not have heard that before. So you
Mm-mm.
forward your potential clients. What is their family situation? What occupation? What do they do for a living? What do they do for recreation? What are their
Mm,
dreams and desires? So if you go through
mm,
that and make it part of your conversation, keep that in the back of your head. That will uncover a lot of things that are going to help you market the house, price the house, what's their urgency to sell. Do they have any specific terms? Do they need extra time after closing? All of those, if you forward someone, all of those things will help you get through that.
Oh, Kathy dropping the bombs here. Ford, a new acronym, ladies and gentlemen, here at the closing table. So, is that something? Is Ford? Is that something that the industry practices? That industry acronym, was that just specific to your brokerage? How did that come about?
No, you know what? A real estate coach gave me that years ago, and I know that it's out there with other real estate trainers. I've heard it before. I don't think it's singular to real estate. I think that other businesses who need to talk or negotiate or sell
Right.
use that. I hate saying sell with real estate because I don't think anybody really sells a house. We unlock the door and then the selling happens, between the other
Mm,
agents mostly. No one can make anyone buy a house. But anyway, that's an aside. Sorry.
right. Right. No, no, no. This is the platform to talk. So I appreciate that. Okay, thank you for clarifying. Um, a lot of times, real estate agents, you have your clients you're working with. You start off the relationship with meeting, and then you're doing your work, and they're doing whatever they do. But nonetheless, there may be times where you're not talking to them every day, but you're still doing work and they may not see that work. So how do you convey to your clients the work that you do behind the scenes and your availability, particularly on weekends, holidays, and all these other days where they may think that nothing's going on?
Well, first of all, I think I've always had a tough time setting boundaries like that. I usually tell my clients, see, it's right here in my hand. So people know that they can reach me, or if they don't, that I'll call them back or text them back within an hour.
Mhm.
Um, but I think that it's really important to have systems in place. I had a friend over the other day who said, "Hey, you're talking to so and so about houses. You're sending them houses." Well, I put them in my system. They're getting houses every day, and my name is in front of them every day. So as far as they know, I'm sending houses for them to see.
Okay.
Um, I just picked up a listing from someone who said, "You sold the house two doors down, and we went to your open house, and you've been sending us, emails and market updates. Come and list our house." So there are some things that are automatically in place and running all the time, and there are some things that you need to make sure that you're taking care of. Pick
Hmm.
up your phone. You know,
Mm.
I can't tell you how many times I'll even call other agents, and it's days before they get back. Pick up your phone. and return calls. There's no, magic to it.
Yeah.
And I think that as far as setting expectations, I'm probably not the best one because if my phone rings at 10 o'clock and a client, needs an answer, if I'm awake and available, I'll pick it up.
Okay. I mean, in a way, that's an expectation, though, right? I mean, your client for the most part would know if I do call my agent, if I do call you, I'm pretty much expecting them to call me either. I mean, to either answer or call me right back. Correct?
You're right. So I've
Yeah.
I've made my own cage. You're
Maybe.
right. You're right.
That's a good point. All right. So I don't know how, specifically home prices have been fluctuating in your market, but for the most part, they have been selling faster. Homes been selling faster with the current market value and at better prices, according to the National Association of Realtors. So what strategies do you employ to ensure sellers understand the importance of pricing their homes appropriately and the consequences of pricing it either too high or too low?
So, I think that in a more balanced market, which is, as we know, 6 months of inventory, more traditional standards of pricing apply. You run the comps, you look at the numbers, you see what
Mm-hmm.
sold in the past, you know, 90 or 180 days, and you price it based on that. I think in this market, which is kind of a unicorn market since 2020, um,
Mm-hmm.
kind of all those paradigms are out the window. So, for example, if you look at a house and we've some of the MLSs have those programs that tell you where they think it should be priced and what the average is. It kind of almost makes sense to go to where the market value is in this market,
Okay.
because if it's a good house at a good price in a good location, you're probably going to have more than one offer, in the
Mm-hmm.
first few days.
Right.
And as we know, the problem with people going crazy in this low inventory market and going way over asking is if it's not cash, there's going to be an appraisal. So
Mm.
these are the kinds of things that I talk about with my clients. Like, yeah, okay, you priced at 400 and now you've got an offer at 475 with a loan and 450 with cash. What's the smarter choice? So I think it's very important to counsel, especially sellers in this market, don't start off up here because it is a low inventory market and you may get someone who goes even higher than that. I
Right.
think you need to be really careful pricing. And, in my market before 2020, I could tell you within $1,000 where a house was going to sell. Since
Mm.
then, I think any agent who can say, well, here's where you should price, here's where you should sell, is either lying or delusional, because this
Really.
is a market the past few years like we haven't seen ever.
Right.
The old timers who've been in the business, 40 years, or new agents who I kind of feel sorry for because it's all they know and it's not reality.
Yeah, I've recently discovered that how important it is to price it like right, and in order to do that, you really have to do your specific research, not internationally. I mean, not internationally, but not countrywide, but specifically to that area and with those exact comps, because you price it too high or too low, you'll end up having to make adjustments. It leaves it on the market. It leaves also a different types of stigma to that home and that listing also, and it makes people wonder. So, I mean,
100%.
using
Yeah.
those analytics and talking to and trusting a professional like yourself is
You
100% the
get
way to
someone
go.
that says, well, my brother in Chicago says, we're $50,000 underpriced. And I'm like, there's not one temperature across the whole country. It's
Correct.
not, 72 degrees in Florida right now. It's, what I mean? It's different. And in this
Hmm.
market, not only is it, geographically different in the past, since January, especially, this market is week by week this year.
Yeah. Yeah, that's one thing I'm noticing too. It fluctuates so much, and then the interest rates play a role, the inventory plays a role, the demand. It's so much going on. So that's why we trust in our professionals like yourself to really give us that knowledge. We also know when you own a home, you grow your net worth. People who own homes, their net worth is 40 times more than someone who's usually renting. But how do you explain the concept of building equity through home ownership and its potential long-term impact on a person's net worth?
So when you're renting, in this business, we all know you're getting not much in return for that dollar. And with rentals so high because inventory is so low, they can charge a lot for rentals. It makes it very difficult for most people to save. So a lot of times for what people are paying for rent, and you probably know this, you can have a mortgage and start building that equity. And our oldest son bought a house after spending a couple of years paying rent, and he's young. He was 26 a couple of years ago when he did it, and the difference is, you know, if you bought a house in 2013, for example, and paid $250,000 for it, in some markets that might have doubled by this time.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and that creamy Oreo filling in the middle is your equity. And it's good to know, and you're not building that when you rent, and you're missing out on maybe mortgage interest deductions, and some, or appliances or roofing or windows. Sometimes you can claim all that. Talk to your accountant. I'm not an accountant, but you're missing out on a lot of that when you're renting.
Yeah, yeah, and it's kind of hard to see, especially if you've never taken that leap of faith. I mean, someone
Right.
like myself, I don't own a home, but I am in that process of looking. I am in the process of running numbers and scouting and things of that nature. But it can get a little scary if I'm being
But
honest. But just knowing on the other side of that is safety, is ownership, is value in your net worth. It kind of brings a different perspective, if you ask me personally.
Well, and that's interesting, because I think what's really important for potential, especially first-time home buyers, to know is get yourself connected to a really good lender. And there are
Mm,
so many
yeah.
good first-time home buyer programs out there. Again, back to our son who just got the house, he's a teacher. And, Ohio has something where teachers can have almost all the down
Mm-hmm.
payment paid for.
Mm-hmm.
So, he was able to get into a home with, I think, maybe it was like $6,000 out of his own pocket. So there's a lot of different ways, especially a first time home buyer, and a lot of different loan products that you can use to get you into somewhere and stop paying that $1,600 a month rent, plus
Oh,
your parking
1,600.
space.
Oh, and the parking, your turn. Now that adds up quick.
Yeah,
Oh my
yeah, yeah,
goodness. Go ahead and get that mortgage instead.
yep.
Let's talk about you specifically. You have a few different designations and certifications. I want to talk about specifically this residential relocation specialist designation. Can you talk about how it allowed you to assist your clients who are moving with a job and relocating, like how you assist them in finding schools and the neighborhoods and providers that they need to get going?
Well, yes, I will talk about that, but you brought up something there. I do have a lot of designations, and
Mm-hmm.
is this audience mostly realtors? I think that if you're going to wind up taking CE classes, you may as well take CE classes that are going to go a little deeper into training and give you the designations.
Right.
Um, I have a certified residential specialist. That's like the top 3% of agents in the country have that. And it used to take a couple years to get. It's a lot easier now.
Mm.
Um, that residential relocation is a brokerage designation, but what that means is you understand the corporate side of things and how to fill out their paperwork.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're dealing with, buyers who are moving in from out of town, it's so much more than that. It's, where do I shop? Where do my kids go to the doctor?
Right.
Where's the dentist? What are the schools like? Um, you know, you've got to, in this business, and it goes along with those designations, I think you have to have the heart of a teacher, because you've got to be explaining to buyers and sellers so many different things, and all of those letters and designations give you a really good foundation for that. But nothing takes the place of really caring about the people that you're representing, and treating them like your own family, so that you would they're going to be happy, and in 5 or 7 years they're going to call you back and go, it's time to move.
Mm. So do you work with a lot of repeat clients with that being said, like people who work for a certain company that shifts them to different markets very often?
So I got licensed in 2004,
Okay.
and at this point in my career, yeah,
Mm.
I sold a family a house, and now their kids are buying a house. And I know that a lot of agents spend tens of thousands of dollars on advertising. My budget is much smaller, but the bulk of my business comes from my sphere and from referrals. And again,
Right.
I think that comes from, treating people like family, like you would treat your own family, and making sure that their needs are met, and they got where they wanted to go in a timely and stress-free fashion. The best way to get business for us is through people who already know you, like you, and trust you. And that's to me the secret.
It's funny that now that you mentioned that, I feel like I've heard another agent mention that on the closing table here, but then I'm thinking of other industries where that same principle pretty much applies. Where a agent on the closing table said, I went out recruiting and getting new clients probably in my first 2 to 4 years. That's when I was actually actively out looking for clients and things of that nature. And she said since then, it's been pretty much those either the same clients or they'll give me a referral. And from there, it's just been word of mouth. I really don't spend that much money on marketing. And I think if you apply that same tactic to most businesses, it's the same thing. I mean, you have your first few customers that come in, you take care of them, you treat them nice. They come in, they're repeat customers. They recommend other people and they're repeat customers, and it pretty much just runs and takes care of itself. So it makes so much sense, not just in real estate, but just in business in general. Now that you said that, it's like a breakthrough for me. So I'm kind of just speaking out loud, Kathy.
Well, and it's not like you stop advertising. I mean, I still do
Yeah,
print
right.
advertising. I still
Mm-hmm.
do social media. I still, sponsor events and things like that. But I think once you're in this industry long enough, you're in it long enough to get the referrals, you should be getting them.
Right. Yeah, it makes sense. Makes sense. There it is. Another designation you hold, E-Pro. And this is something where you use technology and helping people
Well,
get their documents taken care of.
so remember I said, if you're going to take CE, do it to get a designation.
Right.
I got that very early in my career, and things have changed since then. I mean, it doesn't mean as much as it used to 19 years ago, because
Uh,
everything that we do now, from the MLS to CRMs to, e-cards, or everything is digital
mhm.
now. So, you better be good at that, or, you're not going to get very far in this business. So, that's a designation that I probably should just take off my cards and my pamphlets and things
Yeah.
like that. It doesn't mean that much anymore. You know what I'm saying?
Right. So it's essentially what just gives you the certification to allow clients to sign documents electronically.
No, believe me, that came way up. When I took that ePro, we weren't even, digital signatures weren't even being used on contracts at that time. Now it's
Uh,
standard. So when I say it's sort of an outdated designation, that's what I mean. Back then
really?
it was cutting edge. Now, not so much.
Wow, that's interesting. That's interesting. I mean, the the industry evolves so much. I can
Oh, yeah.
understand it like just being obsolete. I can understand. I could actually see a few things becoming obsolete in the industry after so long, especially with the integration of technology. But that's my first time hearing of that. It makes sense though.
That's a scary thought, with some of these
Oh yeah.
Eilon or iBuyers and things like that. I
Mm,
don't think, I think you still need a human being, especially first time buyers, to take you through some of these steps. I think it would be terrifying to not have someone who understood the process,
right.
to,
That's
if you wanted to, yeah.
That's like the second or third time I've heard of iBuyer. I've heard of agents not necessarily being friendly with Zillow, feeling the way about that. But iBuyer, I'm starting to hear more about that also.
Well, to Zillow,
Uh oh.
um,
Here it
Zillow,
comes.
there are lots and lots of agents paying thousands of dollars a month
Mm-hmm.
for our own leads. You can even, I heard, go into
Yeah.
Zillow now and buy someone else's leads. And I think it's doing a lot of people a disservice. They're paying for leads that may or may not be good, and that's a whole different conversation about
Mm-hmm.
that. But
I get
iBuyers,
it.
fortunately, um, in my market, it hasn't become, a disruptor as of yet, but I know in other markets it is.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, considering the fact that they have, from what I've heard, their brokerage license in certain states also, I know that's causing problems. So, whew, it's just something to look out
Yeah.
for, agents. Yeah.
Again, that's another conversation.
Correct, correct, correct. When we're talking about clients who currently own homes, if we're thinking about the rise in home values over time and the ability to pay off a mortgage, what strategies can homeowners employ to leverage their built equity for future investments or just to upgrade to a larger property?
So when one of my buyer clients buys a home,
Mm-hmm.
I I tell them every year do something. Change the flooring, freshen up the paint, get
Oh, okay.
windows, get 3 or 4 windows at a time. You don't have to spend, $30,000 in one shot. Every year, make sure that you're keeping your house updated. Make sure that, the mechanicals are in good working order. Kitchen and bathrooms remodels have the highest, according to, I think it's NAR, the highest
Yep.
return on investment. So
Mm-hmm.
do things like that while you're living in your house, and enjoy the things while you're living in your house. Don't wait until it's time to sell your house to replace the green carpeting that you've been meaning to get rid of. And I think I think if people, if consumers will do that, just that simple thing every year, do one thing to your house. When they go to sell their house, they're going to be very happy with those return on investments.
Yeah, I bet too. See, and that's the thing. A lot of sellers don't necessarily know how to prepare their homes for when they're selling. When actually, if you're doing that consistent work over time, upgrading, maintaining your home, different things like that. One thing that you brought up that I never thought about was replacing a window, one window at a time. That is one of those costly upgrades or repairs: the roof, the furnace, the foundation, the windows type thing. I've never thought about just replacing one window at a time. It is definitely like probably the cheaper option, right? If you want to get it done.
Listen, I did it. So I said we have four
Really?
kids.
Okay.
Yeah, we have 4 kids. The last one is almost done with college. My house was built in 1993, needed new windows,
Mm-hmm.
28 windows. I got 4 at a time because I have to take my own advice. And in
That's a
3 years,
fact.
the whole house has new windows now. But yeah, I mean, just take care of your investment. Make sure that it's simple, one thing
Yeah.
every year.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a great point. Great,
You
great,
ready to buy a
great
house now,
advice.
Kevin?
I am. I am. Yes, yes. Me and my audience. That's what we're here for. So, Kathy, before we get out of here, I like to take this moment for our guests to give us a little bit of motivation. So, if you can share with us a book, quote, movie, philosophy, anything that helped motivate and shape your perspective, professionally or personally, that can help shape and motivate us. Also, can you share something?
So when I first got licensed, I had a real estate coach who said something that has stuck with me, personally and professionally. I've said it to my clients, I've said it to my kids, and I'll tell you, when things go wrong, and they will,
Mm-hmm.
ask yourself, is this an inconvenience or a tragedy? And respond appropriately. Think about it. Most things
Yeah.
are an inconvenience.
Inconvenience.
Very few
Correct.
things are tragedies. Very few things require, picking up the phone and screaming at someone, or,
Yeah.
in my kid's case, like having a temper. They were 4 when I told the youngest one that. So I think that those are some really good words to live by.
Mm, definitely, definitely. You might have to sit and let that marinate for a little bit, but it definitely makes sense. I think
Is
about that all
Yeah.
the time.
Is this an inconvenience or a tragedy? Respond appropriately.
Mm-hmm.
Life changing.
Inconvenience, a redirection. Maybe this isn't the path you're supposed to go, type thing. I love that. It's looking at the glass half full rather than half empty. And we appreciate you for sharing that knowledge with us today, Kathy. Thank you for pulling up a chair to the closing table. Also, at this moment, if you have any last words and or want to tell the people how to reach out to you, please do so now.
Oh, thank you for that. If you've got a need to relocate to Northeast Ohio, the coasts of North Carolina, the Brunswick Islands, or the southwest coast of Florida, you can call me at 330-607-6012. And look, here's my phone.
She is ready and available for that thing
That's
to
right.
ring. So make sure you give Kathy a call. Thank you again, Kathy, for giving us all the knowledge today. We definitely do appreciate that. For our YouTube audience watching right now, if you've gotten to this point in the video, this is where you hit that thumb, aka the like button. We would appreciate that. Make sure you also share the content and subscribe to our channel. And if you are listening on Apple, Spotify, or any of the podcast platforms, please do the same. Give us a like, a 5-star rating, and subscribe for our latest content. Kathy, I always leave our audience with a question. That way they can think on their way out the door. So audience, have you ever used a real estate agent to assist you in relocating for a job? And what was your experience like? Don't tell us now. Leave it in the comments. Besides that, talk to you next time.